I'm just going to press start. Hello everyone, welcome to this event today. Hello from your student officers. You'll be meeting the student officers today, 3 of them who'll be introducing themselves and their objectives for this year. We'll be doing a little short presentation, but you can ask any questions here as well in the Q&A box. And after that, we'll be able to answer all of your questions. So you can start asking them now, and then we'll answer them all at the end. So without further ado, I'll pass on to our officers who just introduce themselves and take all your questions.
I am going to assume that I'm going to go first, as always. Hi, my name is Salma. I am president. This is taking way too long. I think I'm too tired after the weekend. I just finished a 3-year biochemistry degree, so I was a full-time student before this, and now I am president. And I don't think I do anything else interesting that I can tell you about. So I think next we Niall.
Hey everyone, I'm Niall. I'm the Vice President for Activities and Development this year. So I am involved in all things sports and societies. I've just finished a 3-year physio degree, and during my time at King's was really involved in sports and societies, namely KCL Muay Thai, where I was president for 2 years.
I'm going next. Hi guys, I'm Vatsav. It's pronounced Vatsav like Satnav. That's a fun thing I've been doing of late. I'm your Vice President Education, Arts and Sciences. So I'm a law student here at King's. I've completed 2 years of my law undergrad course, and I'll be going into my 3rd year after this sabbatical year. So I represent all of you guys in the Arts and Humanities faculty, SSBP, KBS, NMS, the Dixon Bourne School of Law. Is that all? Yeah, that's the 5 arts and science faculties. During my time at King's, I was pretty proactive in the India Society, the Indian Political Society, Debating Society, a lot of academically oriented societies, not much sports stuff like Niall, but yeah, that's me.
So yeah, I was going to say I got involved in things. I didn't. I really just keep to myself. So if we just go a few slides with this, that's all of us. There are 6 of us in total, representing different things. So they actually split quite nicely in half, top and bottom. So Alice does health subjects. So if you're Countess of Health, she represents you. Heen does anything postgraduate related, and Tasnia does anything well-being, community, equality, diversity, anything like that is Taz. And this is me, and I feel like it's such a terrible photo, so we're going to move on swiftly. So essentially, I feel like this is more of a what do I do, what am I interested in? I feel, yeah, we'll probably go into this a bit less than I need to. So I did in university, I say in university like I am not now, but I did biochemistry. A lot of my research and interest was around control of appetite. So I feel like it makes me cooler whenever I put this up. So it's up, but I was quite interested in how cannabis affects appetite and the different internal systems for that. I got involved in lots of peer support schemes and also financial literacy for students, which briefly, really nicely brings me on to my what do I actually want to do this year. So develop student financial literacy. You're now in university, and I assume most of you are first years who've never had to manage your own budgets before. So how do you know how to budget? The question is, school doesn't teach you, but I'm hoping that I will this year. So we should be having an event, I think we said on the 29th. I probably shouldn't say this, but maybe having an event on the 29th on managing your money, so definitely check that out. But also I want to work on increasing your accessibility to people in the years above you. So for example, I used to go to 3rd years a lot when I was in 2nd year with all my problems because I didn't know how to write an essay, and they tell you, Salma, this is how you do it. This is how you get a first. You think, great, I love that. I'm going to implement it now. A few other things, I work on the Plus Alliance, which is a collaboration between us, well, King's College London, New York, no, let's see if we can get this right, Arizona State University, and University New South Wales in Australia, I'd like to say, but don't quote me on that, supporting Class of 2020, but also committing to combating xenophobia, racism, anti-blackness. What do I actually do? I just sit in a lot of meetings, and I feel like that's all you need to know. If you have an issue with anything with your department, may that be, oh, they've said that we're not getting any face-to-face teaching this year, then just send me an email, president@kclsu.org, and then CC in the relevant VPs as well. I'm happy to talk about anything. If you're worried, like anything, I respond to all emails. Slowly but surely I will respond to them. And that moves us on to Niall.
So, like as I said, I'm VP for Activities and Development this year. So if we jump to the next slide.
Oh.
And again, next one. So this is a bit of a brief background on me. So I grew up in Sussex, have a really close but absolutely massive family, and had, as you can see, a bit of a roundabout route to getting into King's, not really knowing what I wanted to do when I was a grown-up, and then deciding and sort of coming into university as a bit of an older student, and yeah, a bit of my sort of hobbies and interests, mainly Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu related to my time at King's, because I was involved in both those societies. Jump forward again. Yeah, so I ran for the VPAD role because during my time at King's, particularly in my first year, felt a bit sort of lost moving to London. As I said, grew up in Sussex in a tiny little village of 150 odd people, and then suddenly living in a massive city, doing something I'd never done before, so it was a bit of a strange experience, took a bit of getting used to, and being involved in societies really helped with that. It really gave me that sense of community, and it's something that I think future students, yeah, really deserve to have, and also, as it says, looks quite good on my CV. Skip through that one, yeah. Skip through this one. Yeah, so my sort of goals for while I'm at King's, my sort of manifesto points were the main one, supporting student well-being at a society level. So a lot of our societies have well-being leads, and I really want to work with them to develop what that role means and figure out how they can best support their society members. I also want to help improve transparency around student group funding, improve accessibility to groups to get as many of our community members involved as possible, and also support our student media groups.
Right, I'm going next. So I'm Václav. Sorry, I'm a bit caught off guard because I was replying to you guys in the Q&A chat box session. So we've done the introductions. I'll talk to you guys about my priorities. So as your education VP this year, my two key priorities are education specific. The first of them is to sort of work to create an assessment for learning structure at King's. So this would be about giving students access to tools and resources that they need to do better in their assessments. So giving students access to stuff like past papers, model answers, legible marking schemes, where you can actually understand what is expected of you in the assessment. So your assessment isn't a trial and error, it's a test of your ability to apply the course content rather than a test of your ability to understand the assessment in the first place. And my second priority is sort of to create this inclusive environment where governance is led by both students and the university. So this would have a top-down structure / approach wherein you get more students onto the college council, you get more students involved in different college committees, and you get more students involved in faculty decision-making processes, and make sure that there's transparency all around. Yeah, these are my key priorities. Yeah.
Sounds great. I wanted to go into the Q&A. Did you have anything else to add as well, that said?
No, that's the gist of it. I'm happy for you guys to contact me on our social media pages or through emails, all of which will be linked later on below.
Awesome. So we have quite a few questions in the Q&A box, and if you have any questions, please make sure to ask them. There's one question which is very direct towards one person, so I will ask Niall to say a response out loud. So someone asked, about joining the Muay Thai Society. So if you have any information about that, as well as just in general how it is to join a sports group, and what students have to do as well during Welcome.
Yeah, so joining sports groups, highly encourage everyone to get involved, particularly Muay Thai, but I'm just a little bit biased towards that. The best way to get involved is to download the KCLSU Welcome app, which you can download on iOS or Android, or go to our website, kclsu.org, I believe. And there's a nice big banner at the top of the page with Reggie the Lion, and if you click on that, it will take you to the desktop version. And then in that app, you can search for all the different societies we have. So I think there's 300 odd societies, there's 150 live events, or 150 plus live events, and you can search for the individual societies. You can even search, for example, Muay Thai president, and it will come up with the president of Muay Thai for this year, and then you can ask them any questions you've got. And yeah, you can also attend the live events, which will all be recorded and uploaded to YouTube at a later date as well.
Great. There was another question that was society related as well, which is what will the virtual sessions for the societies look like? Will it just be a Q&A session? So if you have a little bit of information of how that will work, as well as what society events are usually like throughout the year.
So I think the Welcome app sort of live events will vary a bit between societies depending on what they're able to do. Obviously within the app itself. And they'll all, like we said, be recorded and uploaded at a later date. On a normal year, when there's not a pandemic, we obviously have loads of different events throughout the year. Obviously, we've got the Welcome events, we've got like this Girl Cam Week, we've got Liberation History Months, we've got all sorts of events to go on throughout the year. We've got a pretty packed sort of social calendar, and loads of our societies get involved in all those different events and put on brilliant sort of events. So in my time in Muay Thai, I was involved in organising female self-defence classes through the This Girl Cam Week. But there's tons of different events from all the different societies. And then we've got sort of our big highlights of the year, certainly in the sporting calendar, our varsity series against UCL, who I'm going to say it's friendly competition, but there's a definite rivalry there. And there's also the Macadam competition, which is between the GKT medical school societies and the KCL societies. So, for example, there's often GKT rugby and KCL rugby, and obviously GKT factor is more sort of targeted towards medical students, whereas KCL is targeted towards everyone else. And then they have a big competition at the end of the year to see which side of Kings is best.
Brilliant. And this was a question to all of you as well. There were a few questions surrounding KCLSU Welcome and how the digital crowd will work in terms of like signing up, what students can do on the app and that sort of thing. So if anyone wants to take that on.
I can go ahead. So this year, the entire Welcome Fair being a virtual Welcome Fair, the KCLSU Welcome app is a really good app to have on your phone. The way the app works is that once you've logged in and whatnot, you're taken to this news feed kind of page where you can post stuff and you can see all these posts. And the great thing about this is that you can sort of scroll and you can find students who are on your course, or you can find students who are staying at your accommodation, that you can find like-minded students and whatnot, and it's a great way to meet new people. And at the same time, on the app, in the side app drawer thing, you've also got all the different societies, the people in these societies, so the society's presidents, vice presidents and whatnot. Just if you want to make contacts and connections, and you can get in touch with them and you can find out from them what events their societies are planning for Welcome. You'll also be able to search any society that you want to. So we've got over 300 societies at King's. So if you search something like the Doctor Who Society, for example, there's a good chance that you'll find it in the Welcome app. Fun fact, our VP Health this year was the president of Doctor Who Society last year. So, and you can make your own societies also at King's if you don't find a society that you're interested in. But with regards to the schedule of, there's a question here about schedules. Yeah, so with regard to societies' virtual sessions, Some societies will have live events like these where you can sort of join the live events for the Q&As or for the virtual sessions. Other societies might have a cap limit on them, but I think all of this information can be found on the Welcome app unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. We've also posted in the Q&A box a link where you can see all of the sessions that are available. So if you have any questions, have a look there. There was another question, which is great, and I'll pass this on to Salma because as you said, she'll go into a bit more detail. How can I become a student officer?
I love this question. I love the enthusiasm from day one. So there are a number of different roles. So there's us. So we are 6 full-time paid officers. And as you are first years, I'm going to give you both options because I think they're both important. But there's also some part-time officers who do some really great work with different networks. I believe that, so there's 2 election periods. The part-time officers are generally, there's some that are going to be elected this period. And I believe this week is nomination week. Am I seeing nods? Yes, nods, great. This week is nomination week, so you can stand and nominate yourself. So there are roles such as disabled students officer, or I think there's an LGBTQ plus officer trans place. So those are great ways to get involved. There's also other things like academic representation, trying to become a member of the academic board. All of these allow you to represent students in different capacities. So definitely have a look at KCLSU elections and see how you can get involved with that. Then our role, which you run for and campaign in, was it only February this year? Only February, where you're running for the opportunity. So you nominate yourself, you attend a briefing, then you campaign, you go out to speak to students, you say, please vote for me, I'm great, I have a great manifesto, I will definitely represent you to the best of my ability. Then it's just a matter of getting people to vote for you. And the voting process is, I can't tell you what it's going to be like because of COVID, but hopefully it'll be over by then. But I think it's such a great opportunity. I've gained so many skills and I just really enjoy it.
That's great. Did anyone else have anything to add to that as well?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind answering that question. I think all of us have got our own anecdotal stories about becoming a student officer. And the real thing is that the actual process is really simple. All you need to do is you need to file in a nomination, you need to submit a manifesto, and preparing a manifesto can be difficult, but it's also really easy if you sort of have an eye for the obvious discrepancies or flaws or things that you'd like to fix in an organization. But there's also the separate thing, which is about the driving force to run an election and to win an election. So if you want to become a student officer, it's something that you have to be prepared for. You can't, I mean, some people can, I don't know, I couldn't, but you'd have to be prepared for it. So if you do want to become a student officer, it'd be good to sort of start thinking about it earlier than later.
There's another great question which is related to this one as well, which says, if you could sum up student officer responsibilities in a few sentences, what would they be? And I think it'd be good for all 3 of you to answer this. So Vatsav, do you mind going first?
Yeah, sure. So summing up student officer responsibilities. So I've sort of got 3 ways of understanding it. So the first way is that you're sort of the liaison between the students and the university. So I sort of touched upon this in my priority. So the existing state of things is that student officers represent students at the higher level college committees. So for example, Salma represents all of us at College Council. I and the other education officers represent students at College Education Committee, College Commission, Curriculum Commission, Academic Strategy, Academic Board, all these different committees. And what we sort of do is we collect student feedback. At the moment, we're doing that through a survey, which will be in your mailboxes hopefully sometime soon. So we collect all your feedback and we collect all your responses, and we sort of use that to drive change at the upper level committees at university. And the way I want to sort of change this is by getting more students directly involved in these committees, so it's a more involved process. The second thing we sort of do is we're a direct access point to the students. So a lot of times students would find it difficult to sort of speak to people at college or speak to their academics if they've got issues with regards to their assessments or their course or anything of that sort. And us being students, we're a lot more relatable to you, so it's a lot easier for you to just approach us as someone mentioned, you can email us, you can inbox us. Just the sheer amount of emails we get, we probably might not be able to respond to you immediately, but we'll definitely get back to you, and we'll take your problems or your queries or your suggestions forward to the appropriate place. And the third sort of thing that we do is that as students for UK law, we sort of act as trustees for the KCLSU Board of Trustees, and we govern the organization there, and we help steer it in a direction that is for the students and beneficial for the students and works towards the students' interests.
Brilliant. Salma, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. I was just thinking, is summed up in one word: meetings. Day in, day out, constant meetings. You saw my brief snapshot of my timetable earlier. On that day, I was in meetings from 8 to 5:30 with no lunch break. And this can be in, there's variety of ways we represent students. So for example, what am I in meeting? So as Vats have said, College Council, so that's where all the highest level of decisions are made. And then there's loads of subcommittees which feed down from there. And Kings like to say, we like student voice. So they will ask, so what do students think about X issue? And they will ask us and we will tell them this, they think this. Or we tell them, yeah, that's not great, Kings, you shouldn't do that. There's also the stuff in trustee board, which is more on the internal running of the union, how the union runs. What else do I do? What do I do? Oh, there's stuff like I'm co-chair, which chair, I googled this. I had to Google what chair meant when I first started this role, when I got told on the first day, you are chair of the trustee board. But I basically look at the agenda and ensure the smooth running of certain groups, such as Freedom of Speech Advisory Group, to ensure that freedom of speech is upheld in universities, as we are such a great public institution. I would say it's mostly representation, ensuring there's student voice on different things. So for example, I had a meeting recently about what will happen if students don't wear masks on campus, and telling them, no, you can't do X, or no, you can't do this. Just providing that inputs, because academics are often quite far removed from a student. They were a student 20 years ago. They don't know what it's like. So we really appreciate and value any student opinion that comes into our inboxes, or to @KCLSU officers on Instagram. Just gonna plug that again, or @KCLSU president on Twitter. I post lots of great things and share different things that are happening throughout the university, such as King's cultural community, etc. And I think I do a lot more, but I don't really remember anything I do. So I will let Niall say what he does.
I will also sum mine up with one word. My one word would be representation. So basically, we've been elected to represent you guys and sort of represent you with Kings, represent you with the SU, and make sure that, like, your time at Kings, you're supported as much as you can. So that varies with, like, as you've got the impression from the others, there's massive amounts of work that go into that, often sort of unseen, but it's quite a rewarding job to know that we're pushing to represent you guys and make sure you're getting the best experience you can while you're at Kings. And yeah, as I said, sort of often that is being the student voice in a meeting. So I've been involved in some of the return to campus stuff around COVID. And yeah, I'm essentially that student voice that pipes up and says, oh, well, it might be easiest for you guys to do it this way, but our students will want X, Y, or Z when they come back to campus. So we're sort of that voice in Kings's ear, as it were.
Great. There was another question that was related to being a student officer as well, which I don't know which one of you want to take that on, but someone asked, what do you think helped you to win the elections? Was there any specific thing that you think really made a difference when you were running?
I can stay on and answer this one. For me, memes. So I was actually on placement during my campaign. So it wasn't a lot of people I know, Salma and Bats, have both campaigned at campuses. So they actively got out and talked to students on campus and made sure that sort of they were aware that they were running and what they were running for, and encouraging them to vote and stuff. I was in, I was in Hammersmith at a hospital. So I was miles away from campus. So I campaigned online. I got a lot of my sort of network of society and sports friends to share memes about me running for my campaign and push to get as many societies as possible and sports groups as possible to sort of endorse my campaign and get their members to vote for me. So that was how I was successful.
Great. Did anyone else want to answer the question as well?
I can go. So obviously I don't know who actually voted for me, but I think it's partially because I was involved with lots of different things throughout university. I'm what you call a busy bee. I do not like being bored. I also commute as well. So I was very afraid of not making friends in first year. So I tried to be quite proactive about getting involved in different things, which you should all definitely do. One of the things I did was sit next to someone completely different in every single lecture in first year, which meant I then had in Freshers Week you have this thing where people are like, oh, let me add you on Instagram, at which point I had to make an Instagram because I didn't have one before that, and I was just adding them on Facebook, and then I was just messaging them 3 years later saying, please vote for me, I know we only met once. But also the other events I did, so Money Mentors, telling students how to improve their financial literacy, it gave me the confidence to be able to go up to these random strangers. So this year poll booths were physical, so they were in certain areas. So you'd go up to people and you have to be able to present yourself well. And from my activities, I had the confidence to present myself saying, this is why you should vote for me. I am great. Go over there now. I think it's about getting involved in lots of different things. So I was involved in peer-assisted learning. I was involved in a couple societies, academic ones, and just asking them, networking, talking to people, because I really enjoy meeting new people. So if you're meeting new people, then you build up a voter base. Not that I was thinking in first year that I'm going to run for president, but it has worked out in my favour.
Great. Vatsav, did you have anything to add as well?
I'd just say that whether or not a student votes for you largely depends on your manifesto and how good your manifesto priorities line up with their priorities as a student. So if the one thing you can sort of do that will guarantee, that sort of help you get a good amount of votes, is you can speak to students before the elections and just sort of gauge whether your priorities or your manifesto points line up with students' manifesto points, and if they do, they'll definitely resonate with your manifesto.
Great. There was a question here which I think some of you might be able to answer, which was what are the part-time options for postgraduate students and just students in general at KCLSU? So how does it work if you work for KCLSU or if you work for King's, for example, as an ambassador or a Hubs member? And then this question also asked, is it possible to be a full-time student and simultaneously a full-time officer or full-time working in the KCLSU?
I can go first because the line is already on me. So I'll start off with the second part of that question. So can you simultaneously be a full-time student officer and a full-time student? Is that a full-time student and a full-time student officer? So you can't be a full-time student and a full-time student officer because the Education Act prevents that. So if you do want to be a student officer, you have to take a sabbatical, be a student officer, and then return to being a student. That said, you can be a full-time student and work part-time. So you can't do full-time jobs. You can work part-time for up to 20 hours a week, I think, and be a full-time student. And KCLSU do have quite a lot of student job opportunities for students. So our hub staff are often students. Our restaurant and cafe staff are also often students. So you can definitely apply for those positions, and you get to be working on campus, and then you can sort of have the flexibility of attending classes and working. But these are also available for postgraduate students. The only thing with regards to postgraduate students is that we'd have to sort of accommodate your timetabling needs with our scheduling needs, if that makes sense, because I'm not a postgraduate student, so I wouldn't know the exact timetable, but we do have options and stuff like that for PG students and students in general.
Can I just add to that, please? So there's different levels of working. So there's just hub staff, there's also shift leaders. So one of the shift leaders is actually a full-time, I think he's full-time postgraduate student. So it does show you that you can do both. Also, I wanted to mention that KCLSU and KCL both pay the London living wage. So it is paid and it is a good wage. I always recommend working for King's or KCLSU because you're not going to get that kind of money anywhere else, and it also works quite well around your timetabling needs. The other thing I was going to say is, so the position of VP postgraduate is only open to postgraduate students. So our current VP postgrad is just finishing off her MA political economy, and she works full time, but the contract starts in July, which is why she's working overlapping, but that's not important. My point is you can do the job if you want to. I would also say you can become, in terms of jobs, I wouldn't limit yourself to KCLSU. There's also KCL have widening participation ambassadors, which are open. You become a student ambassador, you can do campus tour guides. Campus tour guides is actually quite lucrative. It's £20 for a 40-minute tour of guys. So it's quite good money. So I did campus tour guiding. I got rejected from KCL student ambassadors. I also did the money mentoring thing where you get to tell students how to save money, and that is such a great opportunity. I cannot highlight that enough, and it does link to the what are some opportunities that you might not know about, because you get some experience talking to people. I could not have gone up to people as I did in the elections if I didn't have that money mentor experience where they say, go somewhere, go speak to a random student and get me their views on money. No one wants to talk about money. You also get to learn about scams and other things you wouldn't really be aware of, and you get paid for all the training, so that's all great. I made such a great amount just sitting in a room taking notes, and it's so flexible. All King's jobs are so flexible. They work around your timetable, so it's quite easy to balance, I would say, if you're good with your time management.
Great. Yeah, that's a great answer. There's a lot of opportunities. I've posted a link on the Q&A where you can find all of the jobs at KCLSU, so make sure you find that and have a little look. There are a couple of roles available at the moment. I think just off the top of my head, we're hiring a video assistant as well as a Black Students Talk peer support facilitator for one of the groups that is launching this year. So have a little look there and see if anything interests you. There were some other great questions about how does it work to run a society, how do you apply, as well as what the rankings of silver and gold mean. So Niall, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So sort of as we've replied in the Q&A, you can get involved with running societies or even start societies, and if there's not one that sort of fits what you're looking for, by basically getting people together and then getting it ratified by the SU by meeting certain criteria. Or if you want to get involved in running an existing society, they run sort of elections towards the end of the academic year where you can stand for various positions. So sort of president, vice president of whatever society you're interested in. In terms of the gold and silver rankings, that's all part of an accreditation scheme that KCLSU run. So societies are able to basically complete certain criteria throughout the year and achieve a gold, silver or bronze accreditation. And it's all, sort of related to what they've achieved, how engaged they've been with students throughout the year, that kind of thing. And there's also a question about networking events. So obviously depending on the society, they tend to be quite good places to network. So for example, I was on a really small cohort, so I knew everyone in my cohort anyway, but everyone in my cohort was part of the physiotherapy society, as well as the years sort of above and below us. So they were really good events where you could get to know everyone else within your cohort and build a bit of a network there. So I'd recommend joining sort of your course society, essentially. But there are also I know there are wider sort of networking societies out there as well.
Great. There was another question as well, which you've answered here, but I think it might be nice to answer on the live as well, is how many societies would you recommend joining? Is there a recommended max? And we do get this question quite a bit, but the answer is always the same. So if you want to answer that one, that'd be good. Yeah,
sure. So there isn't sort of a max that you can join. On paper, you could join every society if you wanted to. The issue would become how it fits into your sort of your schedule and your timetable. And obviously you need to consider your commitments to sort of lectures in university, your commitments to obviously studying and doing coursework, and then obviously commitments to societies. So using, again, I keep coming back to it, but using myself as an example, I was in the Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu societies, so their training sessions overlapped on a couple of days, so I had to pick which one I wanted to go to. But typically that meant I was training sort of 4 or 5 times a week, and then I was also involved, like I said, in Physiotherapy Society and the Sports and Exercise Medicine Society, which were both sort of more related to my career. And they, while they didn't have sort of those regular weekly commitments, they were putting on events throughout the year that I'd be going along to. So it's sort of, it does vary, sort of the time commitment varies from society to society. So the best thing to do would be to look at what you want to join and see how often they're meeting, how often they're doing their activity, and then work out how that fits into your schedule.
Great, thanks for that. There was one question here which we went over a little bit before, but it would be good to go in a little bit more detail, which was, can you become a subject/course representative as a first-year student? I couldn't find the application, so talking a little bit more about autumn elections and how that works.
I can go. Oh, that's do you want to go? This is education.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to go. So, most faculties and departments will have elections in the upcoming autumn term for first year representatives. So if you're in the law faculty, for example, you have the first year law LLB representative, first year law with German law representative. So it will be for different degrees in different departments, and some faculties and some departments will host these elections through KCLSU. So you'd find the application link for them on the election page on the KCLSU website, which I'll link in the chat in a minute. But at the same time, some other faculties would prefer to have these elections internally through the Keats page. So if you log into your Keats page and if you scroll down there, or perhaps if you even contact your faculty's student experience managers, they should be able to help you get the links for these events, for these elections, not events, sorry, for these elections. But faculties will update you guys shortly about these elections during Welcome Week, and you'll have the links to these sent to you via email and stuff like that. So just look out for those. I'll link the KCLSU election that page in the chat box in a bit. Salman, do you want to add on to that?
I think you put it very well. Academic. So I just wanted to add, there's academic reps, which are generally people who take your grievances. I say grievances, everyone remembers the negatives, never the positives, to the academics and say, you're doing this wrong, please change it, because sometimes academics may not know about it. Am I on mute? Okay, no, I'm not. Okay, great. This has happened way too often by accident. There's also members of academic board, which is, so in King's you have council, which is like the top, and it's really boring. You have like 400 pages to read before the meeting, but that was irrelevant. I think I'm just a bit salty about that. Then below that you have academic board, which makes all the decisions about anything academics, like, I don't know, should first year count? That will go to academic board and they will decide, yes, this should count, or no, first year shouldn't count. So you can, there's one rep from each faculty and you can also run to be that rep. Academic board is actually, it's fun. I think it's a really nice opportunity to represent your fellow students and to bring your views to people. So there's that also.
Great. And here's the question. I'm not sure whether you guys will have a lot of information on this, but are there any part-time job opportunities for remotely studying students? And I guess because we've only recently have gone remote, I don't know whether you know a lot about this, but if you have any info, that would be good.
I would, if you see anything, so I would definitely recommend following me on Twitter, because I share everything that I see about jobs at KCLSU President. This is a not so subtle plug. And I would get in contact with each application by yourself, because it's quite an individual thing whether a department is going to allow that or not. Also, the King's Money Mentor page generally posts about work opportunities, so that's a good one to follow on Instagram. And I think there's also a few things that you can find online which are non-King specific. So, for example, copywriting, or what's it called, Fiverr? I've heard Fiverr is good for making a bit of money on the side. But I think this is also a great opportunity to change your skills and to develop, because if you're not having to commute, hopefully that means you have more time to do things that you can put on your CV.
Great, thanks for that, Salma. Did anyone else have anything to add? I will go to the next question. I think, Salma, you might be able to answer this one as well. What is the mentor scheme?
So this is a great question. You can see the smile on my face. I haven't had lunch and I'm smiling, so this is a great thing. So it depends on faculty. One of my objectives is to get what I had in my School of Biosciences, in other faculties. So what we have is, if you are a bioscientist, who knows if any of you are, but I'm going to go with it anyway. You have workshops which are put on by certain students in upper years for lower years on different topics. There could be, we used to have one on study skills, we used to have one on surviving in not surviving, we decided that was negative branding. Thriving in university, how to reference. There's those kind of schemes. There's also ones which your academic associations may have, like the Bioscience Student Association, I can't even say that, I'm sorry, have a mums and dads scheme. I think the law school also has a mums and dads scheme. I think that's run by the Law Council. There's the KCLSU buddy scheme. So if you identify as any certain characteristic, I think it's like wine participation, and there's a few other characteristics, you are eligible to have a buddy who's already gone through all of this. I was going to say nightmare of university, but it's not a nightmare. This is a dream. I feel like I've just had negative. The last thing I did in university was exams, so it's all negative in my mind. But it's not a nightmare. It's a dream. I love King's. That's why I'm here for another year. But yeah, I would say it's very much dependent on faculty, department. But just get involved. Everything's fine. Also, you can talk to people from societies. That's how you meet sometimes people in your course, and they can be a mentor to you.
Great, thanks so much for that. Did anyone have anything to add to that as well? Right, great. Someone also asked where you can find all the types of roles. I've posted a couple of links in the chat, but generally each department or faculty will post it in their own page. So just make sure you're always having a look if there's something in particular that you're interested in as well. That would be good. Another question that's just come in.
Sorry for interrupting you, Sophia. Is it fine if I also answer where can you find all types of jobs and roles and rankings from KCLSU and KCL? So from KCLSU, Sophia is quite right. You can use that link over there to find the jobs from KCLSU. But what KCLSU also like to do is we sort of have surveys and other interactive student engagement forms and stuff that we'd like for you guys to fill in. And oftentimes these forms and surveys are coupled with entries for £25, like a £50 Amazon gift voucher. So if you guys just enter these survey responses and stuff, you get entered into a draw to win that, and that's good free money. Also, a lot of times KCLSU will do sort of the Union Shop sales tours to sort of see how ideal it is for students to purchase things at the Union Shop, and we'll give you gift vouchers to purchase things, and then you can tell us your feedback on how easy or difficult it was to purchase things at our venues. That's some good things to sort of be mindful of in your email boxes. But also on the King's side of things, King's have the King's Talent Bank, which you can sign up to, and you can get job offers from either KCL or other organizations via King's Talent Bank, and that's a really good sort of source to get jobs. And if you're looking for academically oriented or inclined jobs, your faculties will also have like job offerings, usually around the summer when they want students to help other academics with research things. So that's really good because you get to do research that you're maybe interested in and get to learn from academics at the same time, and you get paid for it. So yeah.
Awesome. And I think this question here is related to what you were all saying, which is what are some of the best things that you can participate in for your CV?
So there are things that you can, I'm imagining that this is career oriented. So I'd say that there are things that you can participate in at King's, and there are things that you can participate in which are sort of organized through King's. So at King's, it's really good to participate in societies, maybe join a society committee, demonstrate that you've sort of taken on leadership roles where you've, organized an event, managed an event or something of that sort. And also a lot of societies will hold career events, and during these career events you can speak to firms and companies will have something or the other for each year of study. So for first years you'll have the first year insight scheme, which is usually run around January, February, March, in that window. So first year law students can go for the first year law insight scheme. First year students who are interested in consultancy or banking and finance can go for those first year insight schemes. And the more you do those, and the more networking events and the more workshops you attend, you can add those to your CV, and they really build a strong resume.
Can I also add to this? So I think, as we said, autumn elections, they're a good one. I'm also going to answer this with another question as well. Is student faculty representative a paid opportunity? There isn't. So I feel like this straddles both questions. So definitely the academic reps aren't paid. However, there are some which you can. There's some representation roles which have expenses paid. So for example, the King's 100, I believe, is expenses paid, and there's a few others which, just honestly, when I say my number one tip is look at your emails, look at your emails. They have such a wealth of opportunities, and you'll get constant emails about different things. Also, actually, while I'm on the subject, you will get a weekly research recruitment email, and that can make you a bit of money on the side, like £10 for doing a survey that will take you an hour, which is a nice way to make a bit of money. CV jobs is good. Also, there's certain things which can go on your transcript, your certificate of higher education. It's called here. I can't remember what the letters stand for, but it says what your degree classification is, but you can also get other things to put on that. So one thing that I'm working with the Centre of Technology for Enhanced Learning is they're doing a course on how to improve digital skills, and digital skills are obviously quite important. It's quite an easy course to enroll on Keat, so I would definitely have a look at that, and because that goes on your hair, so that's another thing to do for your CV. And get LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn, and KCL pay for LinkedIn Learning, so why not use it?
I was just going to take the opportunity to chip in on this as well. As Batsa said, get involved in student societies. One of the first things I put on my CV is that I was president of KCL Muay Thai. It will just expose you to some really good sort of development opportunities. So I put that I'm president of KCL Muay Thai. I put in that I was in charge of essentially managing a team because I had my committee. I put in that I was involved in event management because of the events we put on throughout the year. There's loads of stuff that you might not necessarily realise at the time, but it's actually really valuable experience that looks great on your CV, looks great to an employer. And also Salma touched on it, there's several awards you can do throughout the year that get added onto your here. So I took part in the Enterprise Award in second year, which is run through the Entrepreneurship Institute, which all gets included on that transcript. But there's also things like the Principals Global Leadership Award. Correct me if that's not the right title. But yeah, so there's loads of awards like that you can look at getting involved in as well. Great,
and we only have a few minutes left. So let me find what the last question is. I think a good one would be, is King's connected to the job market, and do they help you connect with job placements, for example? So if anyone has any experience with working with careers, then yeah, please take on this question.
Sorry, we're doing the careers question. You cut out, right? Yeah, okay. So Niall, do you want to take this? I don't mind. I'm just going to try and be quick. Okay, so if you go, I put a link to KCL Careers Connect. You can go to loads of different events. They have to talk they have employees come in. I went to quite a lot, and I go to the same one every year, but it changes, which is careers in the city with a bioscience degree. So it's nice to see that it changes every year because it shows that they're getting alumni and different speakers in. I also would recommend signing up to their weekly newsletters. So they've got one for internships, they've got one for international opportunities, I believe, and that gives you a bit of an idea of what they offer. You can also have one-to-one careers appointments, and they can check your CV, I think once a term, and they can also do like mock assessment centres, mock interviews. So they're really good. I would definitely recommend having a look.
Great. Did anyone else have anything to add? Okay, great. Thanks so much. I think we will stop with the questions there. I see that you guys are typing some of the answers on the Q&A box as well. But I would say if you have any further questions, then please do follow all of our officers on Instagram as well as on their Twitter accounts. And if you have a look through the Q&A, there is a page where you can find all of their emails and contact details. So if you have anything that's a bit more specific to one officer than the other, then please do get in touch. And if you have any burning questions, any one that I've answered now, feel free to type them in the chat below. Otherwise, we will end the event here. Okay, did you guys have anything else that you'd like to say? Any last tips and tricks before we end the event?
I'll go because the live is still on me. Read your email, get involved in societies, and make sure you keep in the loop with what KCLSU is doing.
Great. Thank you so much. I think, and thanks so much. Someone has just said, thank all of you guys. You all look so nice. Hope I meet you, which is so sweet. So yeah, please do get in touch. And thank you so much for coming to this event. If you have any other questions, just get in touch. There was another one which has just come in saying thanks a lot for everything. Everyone has provided super useful answers. So yeah, thanks very much guys for taking the time. And welcome to King's.